Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Throne of Steel based on novel. So let's start. However, their trip still had to continue. Their next stop was the Tombal Mountain Pass, where they would meet with Lin Xin. At the time of his departure from the Night Temple, Long Haochen didn't think that he could really gather 1,000,000 contribution points per temple, but as a matter of fact, he did far more for the Exorcist Mountain than what would be worth 1,000,000 contribution points. This would be sure to gain him fame. He became even more eager to meet with the others, and reformed the 64th Commander Grade Demon Hunt Squad. The few battles he had after his return had already built ample fame for Long Haochen. He was already a powerhouse of the top tier, who had the ability to put up a fight even against a demon powerhouse of the 9th step. Long Haochen was itching to make a proper contribution to thank the Alliance for their tolerance towards him. Only the demon territory, the enemy's rear, could serve as his perfect stage. In there, he could unleash all his strength without having the slightest thing to worry about. Star King turned around and propelled himself forward, immediately lifting himself up in the air with Long Haochen and Kia on his back, soaring towards the south. Han Yu followed closely behind using his own spiritual wings. Of the 7 members composing the 64th Commander Grade Demon Hunt Squad, 3 were already gathered, and the others would soon be retrieved. Star King flew hurriedly, yet on his back, no turbulent stream of air was felt. It was as if they were seated on the ground. Han Yu was already at the 7th step of cultivation, therefore the support of his spiritual wings was sufficient to maintain flight for a time. Long Haochen had originally planned to invite him to ride Star King alongside them, after all Star King had a very large build, giving abundant space. But Han Yu still gave his refusal, as he didn't want to act as an unwanted third wheel, thus disturbing the other 2. However, Han Yu was not empty of envy at the sight of them. In the 64th Commander Grade Demon Hunt Squad, Long Haochen had Kia, Lin Xin had Li Xin, Wang Yuan had Zhong Fangfang, Chen Yinga had her fiancé, and even Simas Yan had his own target, that little white flower. Only Han Yu remained as a solitary man, and when it comes to such things, he couldn't possibly have no interest at all. He also had an image in his mind, but it wasn't very clear and therefore, he had yet to take any initiative. Han Yu's point of view was different from the others. As a demon hunter and Long Haochen's retainer knight, he had a single goal, which was to accompany him closely and increase his strength. He had the hope to fight alongside him one day, fighting shoulder to shoulder, both clad in divine thrones transformed into armor. Although he felt that the gap between Haochen and him only kept growing, these thoughts had yet to disappear. A chance could only appear if he made the necessary effort. Without effort, there won't be even a chance. He wasn't the Scion of Light, and already did all he could. He had to keep doing his best to keep chasing after him. Over more than a year of the Holy War, the Tombal Mountain Pass had received the least help from the Alliance. Relying on their strong attacking power, they didn't let the demons attack their fortress much. The demon army in front of the Tombal Mountain Pass was also very powerful. Their 8 demon gods were led by Marbaz, the 5th ranked, and although their troop arrangements were not comparable to what they had against the Night Temple, don't forget about the environmental factors in that area. This problem didn't exist here. The overwhelming majority of the Hell Demons were focused on the Tombal Mountain Pass. At the same time, 6 of the 8 great demon gods allocated here were in the top 32. But even so, they were at most standing in confrontation against the Tombal Mountain Pass. Comparatively speaking, the deceased on both sides were the lowest of all mountain passes. Many times, magic was just fired, with no one truly breaching the opponent's defenses. After 2 days' flight, Long Haochen's group already had the distant Tombal Mountain Pass in sight. When looking down from high above, the first thing coming into view was the gigantic lake beside the mountain pass. Its water looked crystal clear, reflecting the sunlight and producing a dazzling light effect. The Tombal Mountain Pass covered an enormous area, at least 3 times the area of the Exorcist Mountain Pass. The fortress width and sturdiness were impressively distinct even from afar. Furthermore, upon entering this area, Long Haochen could clearly feel that the undulations of magical essence were a lot more intense than ordinarily. He didn't know why, but this was incontestably an optimum environment for mags. Furthermore, no darkness essence was present, therefore it wouldn't be easy for the demons to stay here. Han Yu told Long Haochen, "Boss, back when we were at the Night Temple, I heard that the Tombal Mountain Pass was the side with the greatest defensive power. Only, because the Mage Temple attaches great importance to preserving their strength, they aren't willing to send a lot of mags as reinforcements for the other temples. Actually, they have a lot of unused power in reserve. They get a lot of criticism from the Alliance about this point. Long Hao-chen looked at Han Yu with some surprise. The Holy War affects all humanity. Could the Mage Temple really still show such attachment to their own preservation? Long Hao-chen asked with some doubts. Han Yu replied, actually, the Mage Temple cannot really be blamed. Raising a mage requires the greatest consumption of resources among all vocations. That's especially the case for mags of high level. Each one of them is a very precious resource for the Mage Temple. Therefore, they only support the nearby warrior temple. The assistance they send to the other 4 temples is rather low. Although Han Yu hadn't said it very clearly, Long Hao-chen faintly understood the meaning hidden behind his words. After a few more years pass, the contest for the rankings in the Temple Alliance would soon start. This was the most important contest for the Alliance, placed even above the Demon Hunt Squad's competition of selection. But who knew if such a contest could be held under these circumstances? If the Holy War kept going, this would be a difficult matter. As Long Hao-chen was sunken in thoughts, 3 figures were flying over towards them like bolts of lightning. Long Hao-chen's group of 3 was arriving from the rear of the Tombao Mountain Pass, and didn't really conceal their presence. Obviously they were going to be found by the Tombao Mountain Pass forces. 3 figures very rapidly came in front of them. They were 3 mags, and as the spiritual wings behind their backs proved, powerhouses of the Mage Temple, reaching at least the 6th step. The 3 were clad in differently colored gowns, and the mage that led them was astonishingly young, looking only about 30 years old. But the pair of spiritual wings on his back was considerably wide, proving that his cultivation was at least at the 7th step. Mags of the 7th step at such age were rarely seen, and furthermore, this mage was clearly expert at the light element with a pretty handsome face. Looking at Long Hao-chen, clad in his golden foundation armor, this light elemental mage couldn't help but have a slight start. In particular, upon seeing Kia alongside him, his expression became extraordinarily splendid. Kia was not only an absolute beauty, but had a very particular outward bearing, something an ordinary girl could never compare with. This was a special disposition God's chosen ones had, which gradually formed as Kia was training for the use of her spiritual stove of samsara. If her memories hadn't been lost, this demeanor would be even more visible, but also a lot colder. Greetings, Golden Foundation Knight. May I ask what the 3 of you are here for? The light mage rapidly shifted his sight onto Long Hao-chen. Riding the Starlight Unicorn King and clad in a golden foundation armor, he was undoubtedly the leader of these 3. Long Hao-chen heaved a smile. Greetings. We are looking for a friend. In the meantime, if the Tombao Mountain Pass has any needs, we are willing to provide assistance against the demon attacks. The expression on the face of the light mage changed imperceptibly, and he asked with a smile, then, may I ask for the name of the one you are looking for? As for the second matter, our Tombao Mountain Pass has no need for help for the moment. Beside him, Han Yu creased his brows, stepping forward, can we have a look at the defense before determining that? This young knight may be outstanding, but in the end he was only at the 7th step. Long Hao-chen was clad in golden foundation armor representing the Knight Temple's greatest honor. As such, being blocked or interrogated by an ordinary mage of the 7th step was clearly unsuitable. The light mage had a slightly blank look, but his expression rapidly returned to normality. Apologies, I have been impolite. Come with me, you 3. Saying that, he turned round and called out for his other 2 mates, setting flight down towards the Tombao Mountain Pass. Han Yu's face finally eased up, following Star King's downwards flight. Kia remarked to Hao-chen in a low voice, I don't really like the look this man had. Long Hao-chen nodded lightly. Naturally, he had seen this light mage staring at Kia without trying to conceal that behavior in the slightest. However, he didn't overly mind that. The Alliance needed all the 6 temples, and this being a period of holy war, he wasn't willing to bother about a bit of impoliteness from the others. Very rapidly, the 6 of them arrived at a place about 500 meters distant from the Tombao Mountain Pass. The 3 mags standing in front suddenly let out a flash of light, letting out indistinct intense magical waves, before proceeding forward. Han Yu. Wait a bit. Long Hao-chen suddenly called out for Han Yu, and Star King also came to a stop. What's the matter, Captain? Han Yu asked, not comprehending. Behind the mask, Long Hao-chen also had a doubtful look. There seems to be a defensive formation. As we haven't the correct magic imprint, we will be rejected by the formation. Hearing him say so, Han Yu immediately became furious and shouted to the 3 mags, what are you trying to do? The 3 mags immediately appeared startled hearing that, and the light mage leading them looked particularly astonished, before apologizing hurriedly, sorry, I have forgotten to give the 3 of you the correct imprint. I'm really sorry. Saying that, he rapidly flew by, taking out 3 badges which contained an imprint made of strong fluctuations of magic, and handed it to Long Hao-chen's group of 3. Han Yu narrowed his eyes before asking with deep seriousness, "Are you sure that you forgot?" That light elemental mage had a cold look. "Friend Knight, what do you mean? Don't tell me you think that I really did such a thing on purpose." Han Yu sneered, "Don't you know better than anyone else if this was on purpose?" The light mage indifferently replied, "Aren't you knights very strong? As the number 1 temple of the Alliance, even if you don't have this imprint, a small formation shouldn't stop any of you, right? I didn't expect you knights to also fear our Mage Temple's formations." Hearing him, Han Yu's rage immediately rose up greatly. Right as he was about to flare up, Long Hao-chen stopped him promptly. "Let's go," Long Hao-chen said calmly, before letting Star King pass through the formation. The light mage had a faint look of complacency on his face. As expected, a transparent barrier came to block their way at the place where the 3 mags' bodies glowed. The imprints on Long Hao-chen and Kia's hands immediately dissolved, and Star King was unable to pass through. This was clearly no mistake. Without a doubt that light mage did it deliberately. How could he be unaware that magical beasts needed a special imprint to pass through such a formation? Long Hao-chen turned back, coldly looking at that light mage, but beside him, Kia abruptly made a move. A bitingly cold murderous spirit flared out from Kia's body. Immediately, a grey radiance struck forward. An ear-piercing sound was heard, and the transparent seal suddenly turned black, before fracturing in a split second, turning into dots of starlight. Then Star King spread out his wings, bringing Long Hao-chen and Kia forward, piercing through the defensive formation. Han Yu immediately followed behind, making use of the seal's imprint to enter inside the formation. Those 3 mags stood baffled at their original place. Did they really, actually, break through the seal? In fact, this seal used by the Mage Temple wasn't extremely powerful, but would encounter no trouble stopping powerhouses of the 7th step. It was something specialized for defending against aerial demons. Its global defensive effects were top-notch, giving it perfect uses as an early warning. That light elemental mage was only wanting to make things difficult for Long Hao-chen's group. After all, from their looks, Long Hao-chen and Han Yu appeared to be knights. He was waiting for Long Hao-chen to request permission to enter the formation. But he didn't think that they would really dare make a move against the Mage Temple's magic formation. And the one who made the move wasn't that knight, but the beauty beside him. From the instant burst of murderous spirit she unleashed, the light mage couldn't help but feel an intense chill. Just what level did her cultivation reach? Star King entered, and this time Long Hao-chen didn't wait for those 3 mags, making his way inside the Tombal Mountain Pass. As a respectful and patient person, Long Hao-chen had been enduring silently for long enough, but as the provisional Saint Knight head, he couldn't be excessively passive. The light mage gathered his thoughts, hastily chasing after Long Hao-chen's crew. Seeing them already enter the Tombal Mountain Pass, more than 10 figures suddenly came soaring from below, meeting them in a haste. "Don't move." An aged voice was heard, and the 10 or so figures immediately scattered, surrounding Long Hao-chen's group. Xian Yuan looked embarrassed, and hastened, "Elder Fei, it's my mistake. I had forgotten to give Saint Knight head enough seal imprints, so his mount couldn't enter. Therefore, they split the formation to enter." Hearing him speak so, the Elder Fei burrowed his eyebrows, showing Long Hao-chen a smile, so it was a misunderstanding. Provisional Saint Knight head indeed has a good cultivation. Long Hao-chen showed an indifferent smile. "You flatter me. I'll be asking you to guide me inside, Elder." The Elder Fei didn't scold or blame Xian Yuan, instead provoking him secretly, but Long Hao-chen acted as if he hadn't heard anything. This was the Tombal Mountain Pass, and he came to stand off against the demons, not to look for trouble with the Mage Temple. Just let them cover themselves if that's what they want. Please. After sweeping a glance, Elder Fei brought Long Hao-chen inside the Tombal Mountain Pass, as the other mags promptly scattered. Xian Yuan looked at Long Hao-chen's group from behind, his eyes twinkling coldly. What did the Night Temple send this provisional Saint Knight for? Although Long Hao-chen hadn't said anything to him, that disregard made Xian Yuan indignant. Ever since Elder Fei had appeared, Long Hao-chen didn't even sweep a glance at him. As a highly proud talent from the Mage Temple, this felt extremely provoking in his eyes. Elder Fei kept guiding Long Hao-chen's crew inside the Tombal Mountain Pass. Star King having landed on the ground, Long Hao-chen also landed along with Caio. This was etiquette. It wasn't very polite for one to be riding his mount in another's territory outside of battle times. The Elder Fei couldn't help but secretly nod in impressiveness, thinking, this provisional Saint Knight actually has quite a good self-restraint. He understood more than necessary Xian Yuan's bad temper, and that he surely had provoked the other side. But as the struggle for power between the Mage Temple and the Knight Temple was in question, he had no other choice but to stand for Xian Yuan. Though he couldn't help but have a quite favorable impression from seeing Long Haochen's behavior. "Say, Knight Head, I will bring you to rest in our temple. And I will inform Temple Head in a bit." Elder Fei having gotten a favorable opinion of Long Haochen, he also became a lot more polite. The status of Saint Knight Head was certainly sufficient. "Then I will trouble you." Long Haochen replied, "Oh, and, if I may ask, is Lin Xin well?" That should be the auxiliary temple head Lin Chen's grandson. Although Lin Xin's grandfather was a Saint Magic tutor of the 8th step, as an auxiliary temple head, he was mainly taking care of administrative work for the Temple Alliance on behalf of the Mage Temple. The auxiliary temple heads of the 6 great temples are all powerhouses of the 8th step, and mostly staying in their respective temples to increase their force. They had all been promoted after having made considerable contributions for their own temple. "Do you know about Lin Xin?" Elder Fei gave Long Haochen a surprised look. Long Haochen nodded, "Yeah. Lin Xin is my good friend." Hearing that, Elder Fei suddenly showed a grotesque face which immediately gave Long Haochen a fright. "What's wrong?" "Elder Fei, could it be that something happened to Lin Xin?" Long Haochen asked eagerly, "Captain? What kind of team's captain is Lin Xin?" And you couldn't help but ask curiously from the side. Elder Fei showed a faint smile. "Captain Lin is now commanding the number 1 mage squad of the Mage Temple, having 500 fire mags as subordinates, which is our cornerstone in the defense against the demons." Hearing that, Hanyu immediately let out a laugh. "Crown princes are indeed different. He cannot even attack, yet is in command of the number 1 mage squad." Elder Fei had a changed look. "You Knight, please take back your words. Captain Lin relied on his own power to contribute to the Tombao Mountain Pass, accumulating military deeds to become the first mage squad's captain, and this isn't related to auxiliary head Lin Chen. Moreover, who said he cannot attack? Captain Lin's fighting power is second to none in the same step, and even mags of higher cultivation would hardly show more utility than him in the battlefield." Hanyu stared blankly, breaking into laughter. "Do you think I don't understand him as well as you? We are from the same demon hunt squad. Since when has he been able to use offensive magic?" Elder Fei was greatly surprised. "Are you actually from the same demon hunt squad as Captain Lin?" "But Captain Lin's offensive magic is really extremely powerful." Hanyu didn't keep disputing, and showed a faint smile. "Perhaps. I haven't met him for quite long. Maybe he really studied with effort? We'll know when we meet." The Mage Temple was an immense palace. From this building, one could see the richness of the Mage Temple. Their temple was constructed on 6 floors, and this immense building was the tallest in the whole Mage Temple. The first floor alone was over 20 meters in height, with simple elegance. Atop the first floor was an immense shape of a Star of David. In its center were represented magic balls of all kinds of elements, surrounding the 6-point star. This should be an extraordinary magic array. After entering the Mage Temple, a giant hall could be seen. This tall dome was gorgeously decorated, luxurious yet not excessive. The mag symbols could be seen everywhere, and around the walls were densely packed fairy symbols. After entering, one could feel even denser fluctuations of magic essence than outside. But because the elements were really heterogeneous, it was in great disorder. However, this sticky magic essence gave off a feeling of shock. Even ordinary people could tell upon arrival that the air in there was different from anywhere else. On the inner side were 6 immense sculptures, the innermost 2 colored golden and black, the outside 4 were blue, red, yellow, and green. These 6 sculptures all had different shapes, and among the lot, the golden and blue ones were female, while the other 4 were males. These 6 sculptures were representations of the 6 elemental deities the Mage Temple held belief in, representing water, fire, earth, wind, light, and darkness. Mags held different attributes, which were not limited only to the 6 elements, but also derived elements such as lightning or ice. But in the Mag's world, it is believed that all the elements use these 6 great elements as a foundation, therefore these 6 basic elements are the root of everything, and the elemental gods are the highest deities they can believe in. Long Haochen's group of 3 knew of the Mage Temple's standards, and as they stepped forward, each of them bowed in front of them. Right that instant, a fantastic scene emerged. The inner sculpture of the Goddess of Light suddenly glowed and spread out a soft golden radiance. As Elder Fei was still standing behind them, astonished, the soft light emitted by the sculpture of the Goddess of Light gradually gathered together, turning into a golden pillar of light surrounding Long Haochen's body. The orange light released by his golden foundation armor then became even more dazzling. They weren't the only people present in this hall. Others were present, and upon seeing this miracle from the sculpture of the goddess of light, Houchen immediately became the focus of the whole audience. Long Houchen hadn't expected such a thing to happen either. Surrounded by that soft radiance, the warm light essence traveled back and forth in his body, binding him indescribably. In his senses, that sculpture appeared like a mother consoling her child. It wasn't about strengthening him, but soothing and consoling his heart and spirit. The light essence emitted by the goddess of light didn't emit the slightest fluctuation of spiritual energy, but was incomparably pure. Long Houchen's heart was cleansed once again, just like the time with the divine snail of sun and moon. This was a very rarely seen good opportunity. Spiritual energy could be cultivated through continuous cultivation, but cleansing one's inner side was a lot harder. One needed a long and tranquil time of stable cultivation for that. And to Long Houchen, as the scion of light, perception of the light essence increased with the purity of his heart. Be it at times of cultivation or using abilities, the effect would grow even stronger. The radiance coming out from the sculpture of the goddess of light wasn't emitted for too long, only the time of 10 breaths, before vanishing, letting everything come back to ordinary. But in this short span of time, over 10 mags in the Mage Temple's hall were halted, watching the scene with expressions of shock. Seeing the golden light vanish, that Elder Fei couldn't help but step beside Long Houchen, asking eagerly, "Revered Saint Nighthead, what have you just done? This is unbelievable." Long Houchen, who was just awakening from being bathed in the light essence, shook his head, and replied, "I haven't done anything. Everything seemed to have happened naturally." Was this an extraordinary phenomenon? Elder Fei replied with no hesitation, "Of course it's extraordinary. The last time such a miracle happened with the elemental sculpture was when the temple head succeeded to this role. Senior temple head is a light elemental practitioner. When that miracle happened with the sculpture of the wind god, I saw the same thing happen as with you. At that time, I had fortunately been following teacher, and able to witness that. If I don't remember wrongly, that last time only lasted for a few seconds, and by far not as long as with you. Are you certain that you didn't do anything?" Long Houchen shook his head once again, and didn't dare keep speaking. The surrounding mags didn't show signs of scattering, all looking at Long Houchen with amazement. Among them, a young female mage stepped up and impolitely remarked, "Are you trying to make a demonstration in front of us on behalf of the Night Temple?" This female mage had good looks, a slender build, clad in a cyan gown which was clearly neat and tidy. A green ribbon was binding her black hair, and at the top it held a green gem. On her right hand was a long staff, entirely shining in brilliant green, just like a piece of green crystal. Atop it was embedded an egg-shaped transparent gem. Oddly, that transparent gem's insides were drifting with green wind, just as if a hurricane was stored inside. Long Houchen wrinkled his eyes, replying seriously, "The 6 great temples are a family, belonging to the same temple alliance. Watch your tongue, mage." The young mage ignored him and declared to Elder Fei, "Elder, I have to report this matter to teacher." Elder Fei nodded. "It happens that I was also looking for Senior Temple Head. Tell him that the Provisional Saint Nighthead has come." "Provisional Saint Nighthead? All right." The young female didn't even bother to pay any attention to Long Houchen, and immediately turned back. The other mags dispersed from there as well. Elder Fei declared apologetically to Long Houchen, "Apologies, Saint Nighthead. Tan Wan has been impolite. I really apologize to you on her behalf." "And you coldly stepped in. Who is she?" "She has actually been so lacking in manners towards our Saint Nighthead. We will report this matter to the Alliance." Elder Fei declared apologetically to Long Houchen, "Apologies, Saint Nighthead. Tan Wan has been impolite. I really apologize to you on her behalf." "And you coldly stepped in. Who is she?" "She has actually been so lacking in manners towards our Saint Nighthead. We will report this matter to the Alliance." Elder Fei had a bitter smile. "I cannot manage this girl. She's Senior Temple Head's direct disciple, and the only one. Her pride is as high as mountains, and she's named Tan Wan, aged 26, but still unmarried. Though there is some backing behind her pride. At such a young age, she's already reached the 3rd rank of the 7th step. She, Xian Yuanyang and Lin Xin are known as the number ones of the young generation, having reached the 7th step below the age of 30. And you appeared pleasantly surprised. Lin Xin has already broken through the 7th step. That's really very good. Captain, it means that we can." Reaching to this point, he was stopped in his speech by Long Houchen's meaningful glance. Han Yu then came to realize his mistake, and hurriedly shut his mouth. However, this appellation of captain was taken note of by Elder Fei. So Lin Xin and Hanyu were teammates in the same demon hunt squad, with this knight being their captain. But if they were in the same demon hunt squad, it meant that the same limit of age applied for all their members. If Long Haochen was their captain, even if his age was higher, it shouldn't be much higher. However, Elder Fei didn't ask about this. For one, his status couldn't compare with Long Haochen's, and also because nosing around others' secret was impolite. Long Haochen's like element was assurance that he couldn't be something such as an undiscovered traitor. Under the lead of this elder, Long Haochen's group was brought to the Mage Temple's second floor, and had 3 separate rooms arranged for them. The 3 of them could be considered as having gone through the hardship of travel, and made themselves presentable before having some food delivered by the Mage Temple, and finally the 3 of them gathered in Haochen's room. The Mage Temple doesn't seem friendly with us, Long Haochen said with a smile. Hanyu unhappily replied, it's not only unfriendliness. It's practically hostility. Long Haochen wrinkled his brows, a serious expression on his face. I didn't expect the relationship between the Mage Temple and our Knight Temple to have already become so strained. At this rate, it will end up as a large issue in the future. If things are that way with the strong enemies at our doors, I fear that if things remain that way after the end of the war, the alliance will collapse even without needing the demons to attack us. Hanyu nodded. Our contradictions with the Mage Temple have been terrible for a long time already. Almost every time a temple ranking contest takes place, our 2 temples are the ones in competition. We have been pushing down the Mage Temple for so long that it would be rather strange to see them delighted about that. Although it's not as if they can oppose us in all aspects, at least our relationship is definitely not good. Long Haochen said, let's keep talking after Lin Xin comes. From what Elder Fei said, Lin Xin's status in the Mage Temple is not low. I hope that he can serve as a mediator. As they were talking, a respectful voice was heard from outside. Senior Saint Knight Head, Temple Head is asking for you. The 3 of them looked at each other face to face, then stood up together. Outside the door, a young mage was standing waiting. Upon seeing Long Haochen, he immediately made a gesture of invitation to him. When Kia and Hanyu were about to follow him, the mage stopped them. Sorry, the Temple Head only wants to meet Saint Knight Head. The immense hall extended over several hundred meters, surrounded by some sliding doors, with a magic Star of David in the middle of the hall. That young mage brought him in front of the 6-point star, and spoke, please step onto the magic array. It will allow you to enter the Senior Temple Head's office. Long Haochen asked with great curiosity, what place is this floor? Every room here is a training field, and some are residences for high-ranked mags. Only seniors of the Saint Magic Tutor rank and above are allowed to reside here. Long Haochen noticed unconcealed pride in this young mage's eyes. He didn't express himself on the matter, stepping forward, to step onto that 6-point star. In a flash of light, he immediately appeared by himself in an empty space. The surroundings were full of twisted radiances of water, fire, earth, wind, light and darkness element assaulting the senses. By only relying on his sight, one cannot pass through these twisted radiances. Long Haochen released his mental force, faintly sensing that this seemed to be a personal spatial realm, with only a faint connection with their original realm. A very powerful mental force. If Saint Knight Head is willing to become a mage, he definitely shocked the world. An aged voice sounded out, then the surrounding twisted radiances changed, before an old man wearing a smile appeared in front of Long Haochen, as the surrounding illusory scenery seemed to take real shape. This old man was clad in a cyan gown, but his clothing didn't seem to carry the slightest elemental fluctuation. He didn't have a wand on his arm either, and he again looked like as normal as an old man could be. With a not tall build and not small waist, his chubby face was smiling, making him look very good-natured. Beside the elder was the wind elemental mage Long Haochen had met before, currently watching him with a vigilant look. Greetings, Temple Head Li. I am the Provisional Saint Knight representing the Knight Temple, 12th Golden Knight. Our Knight Temple's Chief Long has prepared a handmade letter for you. Saying that, he bowed slightly and made his salutations to Temple Head Li. This chubby temple head of the Mage Temple was named Li Xin, bearing a crude name, but reckoned to be one of the foremost in the alliance in terms of strength. Don't judge him too early based on his outside appearance and good-naturedness. In reality, he was among the particularly vicious and ruthless powerhouses of the Alliance's elite. Back in the day, he once penetrated deeply in the demon's borders, fully using forbidden spells in 6 demon provinces and enraging the demon god emperor, who sent the moon demon god Agaz after him. Since this occurred on the far side of the demon nation, this battle's outcome was not well understood. But at least, Li Xin was still well, having become the current controller behind the Mage Temple. Part 1 end here.